Welcome back to another video. I'm Jen Palco. Today we're going to talk about parallel universes, parallel versions of you. Do they exist? Do other worlds exist where there is a version of you doing what you've dreamt of the most, what you fantasize about doing, a better version of you? Is there another world, another dimension of you being you, but you can't tap into it yet? You're there, but you cannot see it with your eyes. How many of you are there out there? So this is a concept that that is talked about a lot in like the reality creation world, even law of attraction sometimes, quantum physics. And it's this talk of there being parallel universes out there. Other universes that include us, and we're still us, but we're different versions of ourselves. So you have an infinite number of versions of you out there in these other worlds. You have worse versions of you, ones that are living a very horrible life, who are very negative, who are very horrible people, and then you have better versions of you, and even better versions of you. And you get to a point where you have the best version of yourself in this other parallel universe that exists side by side this universe, but you can't experience it with your senses yet. Or you can't experience it with your senses because our human brain is limited to only what we can comprehend or what we can believe exists in this world. And, what we cannot see, we assume is not real. And we know that's not true necessarily. It's, we are actually very limited because we're only limited to what our senses see. And when we see things and we feel things and we experience stuff with our senses, we get a limited version, we get an edited version, okay, in our brain, and how our perception of reality is different. So it's very likely that there's another one of you out there. So what I want to say, or what I want to ask, is what would you, if you knew that you had another version of you in this exact time and place that's out there right now doing the thing that you most love to do, what would you say to that version of you? What would that version of you tell you now? So if you have this greater version of you, the person who is living that ideal life that you want to live, what is that version of you telling you? What would that version of you tell you? What kind of advice would they give you? What kind of suggestions about how you're living now? See, this is kind of the premise of creating your reality, reinventing your reality, and re-identifying with a different version of you. It is actually possible. So you can do it in such a way where you actually picture that version of you living in that parallel universe and feel like you're talking to that version of you. Not like you're talking like you're crazy, but you're talking to that version of you and you're getting that version, you're downloading advice, suggestions from that higher version of yourself. And this will actually help you shift over time into a better version of yourself. Because if you've been stuck for a long time and you've been feeling like there's no escape from your current life, your current situation, you're at a really low place, you're feeling emotionally stressed and anxious and depressed and just really, really horrible, know that you can shift to a higher state by tapping into that higher version of yourself and that higher state of yourself, because it's all you and it all exists. It's just on another dimension that you cannot see, that we cannot see with our senses. So this is what physics shows us, quantum physics, a lot of books, a lot of material out there on parallel universes. And it's not, when you think parallel universe, if you've never heard the term before, you've never watched anything or read anything about it, you think it's kooky, right? You think, oh, another world, like aliens and ghosts, and you think I'm crazy for even talking about it, and you shut off my YouTube video here. So, but for other people, it fascinates them. For me, it fascinates me, knowing that there is most likely another version of me that exists right here, right now. Not just one version, but many, an infinite number of versions of myself that exist, doing exactly what I want to do, or doing things that the unimaginable, what I haven't even tapped into, what I can't even conceive of myself, like the unlimited potential that we all have in our lives that we can't conceive of because we have this limited thinking. And we have upper limit problems where we never feel like we can surpass a certain level or make over a certain income level, or that we could never achieve certain goals or certain things in our life because we're limited. We are only limited to what we know and to what our past belief systems tell us and tell us who we are. And that creates a self-image, okay? And also our external environment, what we're exposed to around us, the people who we're exposed to, who we hang out with the most, they're all having an effect on us as well. And we're taking all this information in, and what it does is creating our identity for ourselves. Who we think we are, who we say we are, and who we say we are not only to ourselves, but to the world around us. So if we were unlimited and we could talk to other parallel versions of ourselves, what would we ask them? What would we ask ourselves? And if we could ask ourselves certain questions, what would be the answer? Because it's all us. We just exist on these different universes. Okay, there's so much we don't know about the universe at hand, and there's so much that we can't comprehend. And that is why I find it so fascinating, because I feel like most of us are always stuck in this little box, and we forget that we're part of something bigger. I mean, we know there's like universe and stars and planets and stuff like that, but it just gets kind of like swept away. Like we don't think about it that much. And I think it's also why, New Age stuff scares people, because New Age has to do with the unknown, or has to do with more like spirituality and energy and stuff that we can't see. And anything that we can't see, that we can't put a scientific label on, or we can't do a clinical trial on, we don't believe necessarily, or we think it's bullshit, or we think it's placebo, woo-woo medicine, and all that. And that's what scares people away from New Age. Not only because it's something that is not data-driven or scientifically studied per se, because it's very hard to study something you can't see, but it's also the fear of the unknown for a lot of people. So, anything that people fear, they push away. They push away, or they sweep it under the carpet and never come face to face with it. So think about it. If you could talk to you, a highest version of you, what would you say? What would you ask yourself? And what would that higher version of you, what kind of advice would they give you? I know I'm saying you a lot, but it's all for good reason. So, what kind of advice would you give yourself if you could, if you knew you were at that high level of being, of consciousness, and in a way that is tapping into, that is downloading information from your super consciousness, or your higher self, your higher state of being. Because you know that you have the potential in you, you are unlimited, but you're still choosing to stay under that limit that you have. It's a choice. It's really a choice. We all have the choice to go beyond that, but it feels uncomfortable a lot of times. So that's why we don't do it. All right, so that's it for today, guys. If you like this, If you have any insight or any comments about it, leave some below. I'd appreciate it. Also, subscribe if you have not done so. I put out a video every morning. And other than that, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you at tomorrow's video. Peace.